Well, welcome back. Hey, this is the Berkey Guys Show. My name is Jeff. You're listening to the Preparedness Radio Network, and this is our debut show, premiere show. I've never done radio. I've done about 8 to 10 interviews. I've done a couple with James Talmadge Stevens on this radio network. We had a little one last night, and we've also done a few on Blog Talk Radio on another radio station that's on Blog Talk Radio, and I've been on a couple other shows that are more independent radio shows. But I'm glad to be here again. My name's Jeff. Before the break, we were talking about Berkeys and all things Berkeys, and maybe a little bit more about the systems, and I was getting into my personal use and what system I used, and what got me started was the Berkey Light. That was the first system I used back in the day. A lot of people, when I bring up the Berkey Light, a lot of things go into people's mind when they think of plastic too. I want to quickly address that concern. The Berkey Light, after, I believe it was January of 2008, if I'm not mistaken, it's off the top of my head on that one, they got rid of the Lexon version. There used to be made of Lexon for about 6 or 7 years, and so I had that version. And so Lexon was the version. It did have BPA in at the time, and so because of consumer concern, the Berkey people removed it. Whether or not they agreed with all the BPA, the information about BPA in the media, they got rid of it. So the Berkey Lights, the plastic, none of the plastics of the Berkey products have BPA. So I want to get back to the Berkey systems, and so I was talking about how I owned a Royal. I do own a Royal Berkey. I use it every day. I just have some water out of it right now because my throat's dry a little bit, if you didn't notice. And so we use the Royal, my family and I. And that one I would recommend for the same size family. If you have one, if you have a Berkey system now, my ultimate recommendation would be to use it. Just as James Talmadge Stevens says, use your food stores now. Learn how to cook it. Learn how to prep it. The Berkey, even if you use it and use it for a little while and put it away, it will be an invaluable source, because when you go to put it together, you will know how to prime the filters, which is backflush or prime them or prep. I'll just say prep the filters. You'll know how to prep them. You'll know how to set up the system, and you'll know how to put it together. There will be instructions. There's instructions with every system, but ultimately speaking, you will be better prepared, because when anything happens, or a hurricane, I know I went back and maybe I didn't complete that thought, but really about Berkey system is that it fills that gap to having clean, pure water during things like hurricanes and earthquakes. For those that are on the West Coast or just in earthquake country, a Berkey water filter can be a great asset, and it's much needed. More needed than, say, sometimes like a flashlight or something you should have equate with having those kind of prep items, regardless of putting things on a scale of 1 to 10 or putting things on a scale of what to have and what to have. Berkey's is up on the top of the list. That's one of the first things you need to get in your preps. And so if you have earthquake country, tornado, hurricanes, natural disasters, you name the natural disaster, economic crashes. Now, this might not be a political show, but economic crashes are also a lot of people will call and will say, well, what do I do? What do I do, because I feel like there's something coming? And I go, just get better prepared. Like, James always says, just get better prepared. No matter what happens, have your preps ready and have that mindset. And a lot of people now are. If you ever feel alone, that you're the only one getting a Berkey or only one prepping and you think you're hoarding or something, there are more people than ever getting Berkey systems. More people, I believe. I don't know the numbers per se, but with us, there are more than ever. People are, contacting us, with day in and day out. How can I get better prepared, especially when it comes to water and water filtration? How can I have clean water in an emergency? I just want to be careful. I don't know me personally, I don't want to spout anything about what I know about what might happen in the future of the economy or anything, because I just want people to get ready because it's a need. There's a need and an urgency, but not a paranoia. Do I have people that call? You betcha. People call and are very paranoid at times, few here and there. But what I try to say is that regardless of where you're at in your preps, make sure water is at the top. Make sure having clean water, whether it's water storage, and we'll have that show in 3 weeks, or whether you're filtering or purifying water. Now, getting back to the Berkey systems, maybe another topic we can touch on is the black Berkey elements, the heart of the system. We've covered the different types of systems, but what we want to cover is the types of filters that we sell. There are I could say 4 different types of filters. Well, actually, I would say let's go with 4 in name. There's 4 types of filters by name, and I'll probably just touch on the black Berkey elements today. I will name all 4 right now, but the black Berkeys, and I'll name how they work all together right now. But the black Berkey elements, they're the most superior, the most sought after right now, and they're 9 inches in length, and they're usually in all the systems we sell, most of them. So we've got the black Berkey elements. Then we've got they're called PF2, Paul Frank 2 fluoride filters. Those PF2 filters will only attach to the black, and I'll go into detail about how that is later. So those remove or reduce fluoride and arsenic. That's what the PF2 filters do. Now, if we do sell 2 other filters. The other ones are called the white ceramic filters, and they're British Berkfeld or Dalton or British Berkfeld, whatever name you want to call them. They're from Europe, and they have their accompanying fluoride filter called the PF4 filters. The white ceramic filters come in sizes of 7 and 9 inch. The blacks that we said earlier were 9 inch only, but the white ceramics are been around for over 100. 1880 something or 18, I cannot remember the year, and made in England, and were brought to America in the 90s, you could say, give or take the years, but they were brought here, and so the ceramic filters and the PF4s go together as one. The PF4s are, I would just generally say, they're fluoride and arsenic, reducers. They reduce it using alumina. Alumina is not aluminum, but alumina is what attracts the fluoride and arsenic ions out of the water. And so I want to getting back to the blacks. That was the white ceramics. They're also on our site, and I'll get into those on another show. But the black Berkey elements, what makes them, to me, the creme de la creme, the best of the best, is what they are. They're a carbon mesh filter, but they have the testing from 3 independent labs. We have the data. We didn't personally do the information. A lot of people, did you personally do it? No. New Millennium, who makes the Berkeys, we are Berkey dealers. I maybe didn't mention that earlier, and I apologize. We're Berkey dealers, and so they did the testing a few years back in labs, and those labs certified these tests. Now, they're independent and costly tests. A lot of people ask, well, can't you just go to any lab and get a test? I said, yeah, you can probably go to any lab, but they're going to cost you thousands of dollars, and if it doesn't pass, you lose. You don't get a refund. So, and you can you can tweak your formula, get it passed or not, and then tweak the formula, but everything costs money. So a lot of people were calling, oh, you got some fake certifications, or, where do these certifications come from? And they do cost money, and they aren't cheap. And so that I wanted to stress that point, that they aren't just some, run-of-the-mill organization certified them. It's actual labs who do the certifications. And they certified the black Berkey elements to some amazing levels. And the black Berkey elements are 9 inches, and they sit they obviously do, and not usually, but they sit in the top chambers of all the systems. They attach to the top chambers, and while you're pouring in the water, they have little pores on them. It's a carbon mesh filter. It looks completely black. It's inhibits bacteria, and part of the element inhibits, the makeup of it inhibits bacteria. It's a carbon mesh. It's black as night, and it sits there in the top chamber. And as you pour in the water, the pores, they're open, and the water slowly goes through the path of the black Berkey elements, and then into the middle of the black Berkey elements and straight down into the bottom chamber. And you'll see in pictures or I have a video on my website talking about the Go Berkey kit. And I know this is a lot of information, so I'll try to go back. I'm going to go back to the black Berkeys, but there are videos and stuff like that that we have on YouTube that explain, that show the black Berkey elements. But so we have the black Berkey elements and what they remove, and they've been, by these independent labs, they've certified it for things like chlorine. And the word, to use the word, is non-detectable. So nothing showed up on the Petri dish. Without saying 100%, it's 99.999999, about 6 to 8 nines or so. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's, things like the basic things like chlorine, E. coli, Giardia, things that people are really worried about, Cryptosporidium, trihalomethanes, MTBE. But a lot of times people want to know what it removes, and so I'm just kind of going off of generalities right now. And a lot of people ask about chloramine, and now there hasn't been any specific testing about chloramine. The chloramine is a combination of two separate things, I believe, iodine and chlorine or some sort. I just off the top of my head, but at the moment. But it will. There has been known that carbon filters will remove or reduce chloramine from the water. So I'm hoping that testing will come out soon on the Berkeys. I know they're always doing testing. They actually did testing last year, and this is a question that comes up a lot. What about viruses? What about viruses that are in the water? And so because the black Berkey elements don't happen to be 0.01 micron, they're actually a higher level micron in the filtration, 0.9. It sounds very, very high, but it's the way that the black Berkeys work that makes it pass the test at 99.9999 non-detectable, is because it absorbs the contaminants. And absorption, you can get a higher level. And so that's why there have been certifications already, or certification for viruses. The viruses, I believe, are MS. Oh, let me get them right now. It's called, a couple of the viruses that have been certified is called MS2 and FR coliphage. I'm sorry. Don't know the pronunciation on that. But these viruses have been tested to be removed by exceeding purification standards. And a lot of people are worrying about that. Well, if I go to a river or stream, what if I'm out just camping and I want to go into the stream and test the Berkey? Go right ahead. You know what I mean? Go right ahead and just dip it in there. And I've personally seen the Berkey change the taste of many, of different sources of water. I went on a trip with my family this year, and we could definitely taste the difference of drinking the lake water when we put it in the Berkey, especially even a sport Berkey, which we haven't talked about that. But putting water into the Berkeys changes the taste of the water, and I can explain why, but it does. Usually the water is heavily chlorinated, and so it removes the chlorination taste and flavor. And the reason why it tastes so good, usually it should, by the way, and some people call from time to time and say, it doesn't taste right. I go, no worries, let's work through solutions on that. But 99% of the time, or almost 100% of the time, water is delicious. It tastes the way it does because of one main factor. The Berkeys, while they remove pathogenic bacteria, cysts and parasites, chlorine, volatile organic compounds, and other contaminants, it doesn't remove the minerals.